Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mr. J, and today I'm going to be showing you guys the updated version of my Grim Legion build. So if you guys don't know what this build is and you guys want the full in-depth discussion of the build, I will leave a link to that in the card on the top right-hand corner and in the pinned comment in the comment section down below. This video is more of an update to that build because I am level 66 now, and a lot of you guys said you wanted to see what the build was going to do in late game stuff, World Tier 3 and 4, with more Paragon boards and things like that, so I figured this would be a good starting point to know where to go with the build once you're kind of getting done with World Tier 2 and you want to go into World Tier 3 and possibly 4. But to start off the video, this is not, once again, this is not a meta-breaking, meta-changing Bone Spear build doing 10 million damage a hit. That will be the later video when I'm level 80 and 90 with full Paragons, full God Roll gear. That will be later. I can't guarantee it'll be like meta-breaking, meta-changing Bone Spear 10 million damage, or, you know, Bone Spirit doing, 5 million crits. I can't guarantee that, but this build is already hitting for like 10, 15, 20,000 damage already, so we could potentially see some major increases over time. So before we jump into the video, if you guys are new to my channel, if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, that would mean a lot to me if you guys did do that. We have been seeing a lot of love from the Diablo community for this build video, for the tips and tricks videos. If you guys want to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future Diablo content, feel free to do so. That would be helpful if you guys did. And also leave a like on the video if you guys do enjoy this type of stuff. If you guys want to see more build videos, I am piecing together some other stuff too, so leave a like on it for more build videos as well. So this build so far can very, very comfortably handle World Tier 3. So if you're in World Tier 3 and you're looking on how to survive and how to do damage, this build will be a great one for you because this build can definitely handle it. And it can even handle World Tier 4 as well. It's not super comfy in World Tier 4. I do get one hit a lot because of the elites and a lot of those like ground abilities and stuff like that. But I have been able to actually play with friends and help them in World Tier 4 as well. And this is like, we're talking, I've killed things 10 levels above me or even 20 levels above me. It might take a while and I might have to be very cautious with how I play so I don't get one shot. But this build can damage things 20 levels above me in World Tier 4. So fighting level 85s, I can actually kill some of them, especially the small ones. The elites are basically unkillable for me, but small enemies, I'm already seeing damage on them. So you can imagine playing on level in World Tier 3, you're going to just crush things. And that's kind of what you do. World Tier 3 is very, very easy right now. So if you're doing Nightmare Dungeons at World Tier 3, 3 levels above you, this build right now can handle Tier 16 dungeons. Going into the 20s, like 23, 24-ish, like that's a little too much. I was able to do damage, but I was getting 2 one-shot. So not quite there yet. I've taken this character into Hell Tides in World Tier 4. I've taken this character into the Tree of Whispers dungeons. I've taken this character into a lot of different scenarios, and I'll even have gameplay on screen for you guys to showcase that. This build is so strong, in fact, that I actually ran a dungeon earlier today where I had broken gear on me. My gear was completely broken, which is very, very bad. All your stats get all wonky and you don't have like any of your bonuses. And you're going to see in a bit that I actually don't have aspects on 4 of my pieces of gear either. And I was 3 levels under-leveled for it too. So in the Nightmare Dungeon, World Tier 3, 3 levels under, without aspects on 4 of my pieces of gear, with broken gear, I was still able to handle that dungeon. So I hope you guys enjoy the build. Let's go ahead and jump in. So once again, starting off with the basic skills here, nothing has really changed. We are still using Reap. We are still getting the extra attack speed whenever we hit an enemy and they die 2 seconds after. And we're still getting the corpse on the first enemy that we hit, only every 5 seconds though, but we are still using Reap. It's fantastic. So going down here to the core skills, we are still using Sever, but the difference on this one is we're not using Paranormal Sever. So this one makes it where every 4th cast of Sever, you make enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. We've swapped that one out for this one, which is Supernatural Sever, so that you deal 2% multiplicative with the X there. It's a 2% multiplicative increased damage for each minion that you have upon casting. And the theoretical max that I've been able to achieve for this build is 12 minions. So we'll have 24% extra damage. And if the golem actually counts, that's 13 minions, so that would be 26% extra damage, which is just a lot of extra damage. And it's, again, with the X there, it's multiplicative. It's crazy good damage that we can't really skip out on. But if you do want to focus more on vulnerable, if a lot more of your stats are actually focusing on building out that vulnerable damage, go ahead and use this one too. Or instead of, I mean. And of course we have 3 points into Hued Flesh over here, so we have a 12% chance to create a corpse at the target location whenever we damage anything ever, and that chance is doubled against bosses and elites. So once again, Hued Flesh is too good to ignore. We're still using that one. We're still putting 1 point into Unliving Energy for the essence, which is very, very low, but we're only using it to get over here to imperfectly balanced. So our core skills cost 9% multiplicative more essence, but also deal 15% more multiplicative damage as well. So this one, like I said in the last video, we are actually generating so much essence we don't really need to worry about the extra essence cost. We just get a bunch of bonus damage. It's really, really good. So moving on down here to the corpse skills, we are still using Blood Mist. We only have 1 point in there naturally, but we're getting 2 from our armor. Blood Mist, if you missed the first video, I'll leave a link to it. You should go watch that for more of an in-depth explanation to this, but Blood Mist is fantastic. It's our oh crap button. Whenever we get into any sticky situations with like spiders or any kind of ice, or if we are about to get one hit, or if we're inside of a pool of like plague, poison, whatever on the floor, we pop Blood Mist and it's just our saving grace. It's so fantastic. But we're also still going into Corpse Explosion here, but I did actually move one of the points into here, so we're 5 out of 5 right now with 9100 damage over 6 seconds. We still have the bigger radius over here, and we still are going into the darkness skills over here, so it has the vile miasma on the floor. So this is all the same. We just have 1 extra point in Corpse Explosion over here. We are going to Grim Harvest for 3 out of 3 over here, but we are now putting 3 points into Fueled by Death. And that 1 item contribution, that's coming from our weapon. I'll explain that in a bit. But now we have 12% extra, again, multiplicative and damage increase for 6 seconds after consuming a corpse. This is a lot of extra damage on top of everything else we already have. So this is fantastic to use. Highly recommend it. But now we will go down over here for the Curse Skills section. So the curse skills, really nothing has majorly changed. We are still using Death's Embrace because we like to be close up, but if you like to be farther away, if you want to just kind of send your Sever out long range, then you want to use Death's Reach over here. I'm still going close range. I'm still using this one. But now we are putting 1 point into Skeletal Mage Mastery just so we can get that extra little bit of life out of them and extra little bit of damage out of them too. Nothing major, just 1 point to kind of help keep them alive a little bit longer than they were before. Because the mages are the most important ones. We're not putting that over here for the warriors, because the warriors, they do damage, I guess. They're there, they help, but the mages are the ones that give us that essence regen. So that's very important for them to stay alive. And then coming down over here to the second piece of the corpse skills over here, we are not using Corpse Tendril or Bone Spear or anything else over here. We are once again only using them for the shadow passives over here. So the darkness skills, we get the movement speed one. We're only putting 1 point into Reaper's Pursuit, just so we can get over to here for Gloom. So Gloom says whenever you take damage from enemies with darkness skills, it takes 6% increased shadow damage from you and your minions for 2 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. This one is just fantastic. It's just, again, it's so good, you can't overlook it. Same with this one over here for Terror. Terror says darkness skills deal 9% bonus damage to enemies who are slowed, and 9% bonus damage to enemies who are stunned or immobilized, and they can stack. You can also find amulets with a +2 or +3 to Terror. So if you could have a 4, 5, 6 points in Terror, you could imagine the darkness damage that you would actually deal with Sever or anything like that. Like, the stuff you could make with this would be incredible, and I'm going to be messing with this one a little bit more because Terror is honestly insanely good. So now if we go down over here to the ultimate section, this is where things get a little bit different than the last time, but I'll explain why. So the ultimate skills over here, we're not using Blood Wave this time because I'm trying out Army of the Dead. So if you've never used Army of the Dead, basically it just summons a bunch of like ghost skeletons that will just charge your enemies and explode for like 2,000-ish damage, 2,500 damage on them. And with this one here, whenever they explode, they have a 15% chance to leave behind a corpse, which is fantastic. And then over here, this is why we're using it, is because over here, we can use Army of the Dead to raise our skeletal warriors and skeletal mages. So if you ever find yourself with no skeletons at all, but you have your ultimate, you just pop your ultimate and you get all of them back. So overall, the damage is lower than something like Blood Wave, but I'm trying it out to see if we can make it work with like maybe the attack speed boost or whatever. I'm going to be trying some things out. I'm going to be experimenting with it, and I'll update you guys on any of my findings. But so far, this is what I've been using to make it different, and it kind of fits the theme of the, the whole Grim Legion. It fits the Army of the Dead, the Legion of Dead. Like, it fits that theme too. But if I end up going back to Blood Wave, that's a good option because it does give you slow damage too. So for the minion passives over here, we actually are doing things a bit different here. So we only have 1 point in Inspiring Leader because we don't really need the attack speed bonus from this. We can get it from other places, but eventually I would like to get this one maxed out if I can have the option to, but for right now we only have 1 point in there, leading us down over here for Hellbent Commander. I took 1 point out of this. That's what goes up to our Skeletal Mages up there. And we can still get the extra 20% damage, so I figured 20% is better than nothing, but we don't need the full 30% either. So we're actually taking all 3 points out of Death's Defense because I found that the main fundamental problem with the Necromancer is the minions are just weak. They have no health, they barely deal any damage, they're just weak, and you have to fully invest your entire build into them to really make them not die and make them do good damage. And because my build is not fully going minion build with all of my passives and everything going minions, my minions are just going to die. That's just a fact. I've just accepted it and I've embraced that. They're going to die, and that's the whole thing of the build, is to regen essence from them while I'm reviving them, get more damage when I'm reviving them. That's the whole thing. I'm constantly spamming my 2 button to spam them, to revive them. So like this one seems good on paper, but in reality it's not actually that good because your minions will die anyway, and it'll only block a couple of hits from things, from all the minions in World Tier 4, in Hell Tides and whatever on these dungeons. There's so many elites and so many ground abilities and so much stuff going on that they're going to die anyway. It doesn't really help them live any longer than maybe like an extra second or 2. It's not like it's going to save them from some massive one hit from a boss. Like, it's just going to... they're still going to die. So I moved the points away from here. So until we get some of those later patches in a couple of weeks or so, whenever they end up buffing the minions, or at least hopefully buffing the minions, this is just kind of the mentality, is your minions will die. They will. But moving on down towards the key passive section, we are still using Kalen's Edict because it is a massive, massive boost to our minions' attack speed. Because we always have 7 minions or more, because we can have like 12, so even if we lose a couple, we still have over 7. And so we get 30% attack speed whenever I stop being damaged for 3 seconds, which is basically the length of Blood Mist. So whenever I pop Blood Mist, my minions gain 30% attack speed boost. It's really good. I might eventually swap it for Shadow Blight and try this one out because we are using a lot of shadow damage and things like that. But I am really enjoying the attack speed from our minions because of the fact that our mages can attack faster, and if our mages attack faster, we get more essence back. So for right now, it's Kalen's Edict that I'm using, but I might eventually try it out with Shadow Blight and see how that works. Alright, so a lot of you also wondered how I'd spend my Paragon points once I leveled up a little bit, and this is what I've been able to do so far. The second board that we went for was the Hulking Monstrosity board, which gives your golem 40% extra maximum life and 40% extra damage. Our golem is very, very imperative to the build here. We are fully utilizing him to the fullest extent because he has the stun damage, he has the vulnerable damage, his slam does a lot of damage, and it's just, he is insane. He's a very tanky thing, he takes a lot of aggro. He's kind of like a staple of the build so far. So we're going Hulking Monstrosity here, and you can see the pathway that I took after that last video. This whole first part is the same. We did get enough stuff to get the Prime node over here, so we're getting 20% damage over here. I'll even zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. So we're getting the Prime node over here for 20% damage, and then we're going up here and we're putting Golem in here as well. So every 5 willpower purchased within the range gives our Golem 11, almost 12% increased damage, and once we have enough willpower, we'll be able to gain another 25% max life to our Golem as well. And this glyph right now is level 11. I'm almost at 15, so once I get 15, the radius will be bigger, and I'll be able to get more willpower from here, from here, from here, and I think there's another one over here and here too. So I'll be able to get a lot more willpower to increase this just a crap load, and his health will go up. It's just going to be crazy. So that's the first glyph socket, is Golem. Then we go up here, and I was able to again grab the knowledge node. I could have gone over here for the armor and intelligence, but I instead went for the damage and intelligence over here, which means that we eventually have to grab the strength node. Yes, it sucks, but we have to grab it. So then we're going up to the end of the board over here. I'm just grabbing all of the intelligence nodes over here. And then in the new board, we basically went up to the intelligence node over here. We kind of went up to this one too, but we went over to the dexterity ones, up, over to here for the infused golem node. This node over here gives us 17 extra percent golem damage and 14% extra maximum life with our golem too. And once I get all of my gear perfected, we will actually meet the willpower requirement. They're only like 61 away, so I will be able to reach the maximum willpower to get another 17% here as well. So moving on from that, we just went straight up from there all the way to Miscreation over here for golem armor and 10 intelligence. And again, once I get the 260 willpower over there, we'll get even more armor from him. So from Miscreation, we go up to this glove socket over here, and I put Reanimator in there because it's extra minion damage overall, which is very, very helpful. I want to put a rare one in here, but I actually don't have a better one for that just yet. This is the only one I could find, so that will be swapped out at some point, and I'll update you guys when I do. But from there, we go up, over, we get all of these intelligence nodes over here, we got the golem damage here, golem damage over here, and then over here we get even more golem damage and 10 intelligence. And because of the glyph socket over here giving us extra minion damage for every 5 intelligence, over here we get 2.4% because of 10 intelligence, and over here we get 2.4 minion damage because of the 10 intelligence over here too. So these are all contributing to it, which is fantastic. Plus we get the 17% extra golem damage and 10 intelligence over here. We go all the way up, and the plan is to go from here all the way up to this board gate over here and put another board over here. I don't know what board I'm going to use yet, but that's what the plan is so far. And then down over here, back to the beginning, we did split off, and we went straight up over here, grabbing all of the intelligence and all of the willpower and dexterity here, which is kind of helpful. We don't fully utilize dexterity, but it does help for some of the nodes in here. And we're grabbing the Hulking Monstrosity board. What I might also do after we grab Hulking Monstrosity and we move over here to this board attachment gate, grabbing all of the intelligence, dexterity, and willpower along over here towards the end over here. So we might actually go off to the right or off to the top, or maybe both if I can. That's kind of the plan so far. So this is the overview of the Paragon board. Nothing super fancy. I'm only level 66, but this is what we have so far. Okay, so now for the Book of the Dead. It's basically the exact same. So it shouldn't take too long to go over this because we're still using the Reapers for the Warriors over here, and we're getting the extra cooldown reduction because of the slowed, stunned, vulnerable, immobilized, all that fun stuff. So same thing there, still a really good one. We're still using the Cold Mages that giving us extra 2 essence per primary attack that they use. That's very, very good. That's basically our resource regen right there. And then we're still using Iron Golem for the Vulnerable Slam. So the Book of the Dead is the exact same as the last video, so if you want to go watch that one or this one, either way, it's the same. So now for the gear side of things over here, we are once again still prioritizing intelligence and still prioritizing willpower a lot. I will be increasing my intelligence and my willpower once I get better gear, so these aren't the final numbers, but these are, like, my gear is still basically in transition between the old gear and the new stuff. I have found some good pieces, but a lot of it is still kind of iffy on some of the stats. Alright, so to start off, the helmet is the exact same helmet. So if you want to know more about this helmet, it just has the healing on there, so we heal for 31 life per second for every enemy in close range, up to 147 life per second. Very good for being tanky, but because the item level is very low, that healing is actually really low, and it's not a lot because we actually have 2400 life now. We went up almost 1,000, actually 1,100 life since the last video, so that's not super helpful anymore. If I got a leveled up version of that, that'd be even better. But we still have the intelligence and all stat on there, so it's the exact same helmet that we had last time. The chest plate is decent. It's a 766. We got the 4 upgrades on there, so it's a plus 20. But it does have intelligence on there. It does have shadow damage and darkness skill damage on there as well. What we're missing is willpower. Once I roll willpower on a perfect chest plate, in theory, we could keep the shadow damage and darkness skill damage, but I need intelligence and I need willpower. So that's like an extra 50-something willpower we're going to gain from just that. So this chest plate's actually pretty good. It's not like amazing, but it's not bad. So for the gloves here, they're 764 plus 20 because they have 4 upgrades in it. They're not perfect, but they're pretty dang close. So they have plus 15 to all stat, plus 46 to intelligence, and plus 2 to sever, and then of course damage to injured enemies as well. So if I get the all stat to roll into willpower, these gloves will be fantastic. But for right now, the all stat's kind of what we have to work with, but it's not bad. The pants have plus 2 to blood mist, which isn't super needed. I prefer something else, but it's not a dead stat at least, which is good. The item power is very, very low here, so I do need new pants still. These are kind of the in-between pants I had, but they have 30 intelligence, 29 willpower, which at least they have willpower, which is good, and they have max life too, so it's pretty darn good. The boots, once again, I got kind of lucky, kind of unlucky. They don't have willpower on them, which I'm trying to get that on there, but they do have the Blood Mist, triggers Corpse Explosion, and reduces its cooldown as well, so that's fantastic on these boots. And they do have intelligence, and they are like a 790 item power, so item power's good, armor's good, they have intelligence, and they have a good aspect. So if I can get willpower to roll onto these boots actually would be pretty good. And of course, having the essence cost reduction doesn't hurt, that's pretty good too, and it's a high roll too, 8.1 out of the 8.3 it could have been. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you guys is I did get a Black River. I got unbelievably lucky with this, and I don't want you guys to think that this is like the end-all be-all item for this build. This is a very good item for the build, but there's other things that I want to try out that aren't Black River. If you have one of these, it's a great, amazing addition to the build. If you can't find one of these, then don't worry, I will show you guys some alternatives that you can use instead. But if you don't know what Black River does, basically what it does is it says Corpse Explosion consumes up to 4 additional corpses around the initial corpse, dealing 126% increased damage with a 23% larger radius per additional corpse. So when there's a field of corpses, you pop Blood Mist and we start triggering the Corpse Explosion, and the Corpse Explosion can now consume up to 4. So it does this massive increase of damage. I've seen our Corpse Explosion ticks hit for like 10 to 15,000 damage on certain enemies in certain areas. So like, you can really stack this up. It is amazing. Don't worry though, like I said, there are alternatives. So over here, this was a weapon I was using before too. It's got amazingly high damage, good item power at about 613, so it's 1100 DPS with critical strike damage, ultimate skill damage, intelligence, basic skill damage. If I really put in the effort, I would have re-rolled the overpower damage into all stat as well, but something like this is amazing for this build too. And then once I moved on from that, I grabbed this one over here when I started getting Ancestral stuff when I was playing with my friends in World Tier 4. So I got 775 item power with just over 2,000 damage, which is kind of like a mid-roll, because you can see it could have rolled to 2,500 damage with a 1 attack speed, critical strike damage. I did roll all stat and intelligence. This sword was insane for a while. With crowd-controlled enemies, slowed enemies, this is a really, really good one to use as well. So like, if you can't find Black River, these are good ones to use. And then from here, I went over to this. This scythe over here was the one that lasted me a very, very long time. This was a huge damage boost. It has 2260 damage per second, which could have rolled up to 3,000 damage per hit, which is just mind-blowing that this is such a good item, and it's a low roll too. But we did get plus 84 all stats, and I rolled 180 intelligence on here too, and damage to close enemies. So like, this was a really, really solid item to have on here. This was amazing for that too. And again, none of these have any legendary aspects on them because I didn't want to actually use an aspect on an item I wasn't going to fully keep. But don't worry, I will actually be showing you guys some alternative aspects you guys can be using on your weapons, or good ideas for things like that, and my future ideas for aspects on my armor and things like that too. We'll talk about that in a second. But for the jewelry and stuff, for the amulets and the rings, I'm still using the exact same amulet as last time. So no change there, still the same one, getting us the extra mages, which is fantastic. The rings are new, but they're not fantastic. This one basically just gives me extra skeleton damage whenever they're alive for 10 seconds. So it's up to 21% extra skeletons damage when they're alive for 10 seconds, which is kind of hard to do when your skeletons die a lot. But I actually find that my skeletons live decently long, so it's not like unusable, but I might not use it in the future. We'll see if I end up finding something better, but right now, that's pretty good. And this next ring is, again, it's low item power, I need new rings, but the golem aspect over here says your golem has a 4% chance to reduce its active cooldown by 2 seconds, and a 2% chance to spawn a corpse each time it damages an enemy with its normal attack. So with how fast our minions are actually attacking things, that 4% happens kind of a lot, and that's what we're using it for. It's the corpse and the cooldown reduction, allowing him to slam more and spawn more corpses, and the more attack speed you have, which is why it's good we're using a one-hander with a focus. These both have really high attack speeds, and because our minions inherit 30% of our attack speed bonuses here, that's where you actually get like your golem attacking a lot. That actually triggers this quite a bit. So now for the focus. Again, I got kind of lucky, kind of unlucky on this piece too. It's a really high item power, really good damage per second, very good attack speed, cooldown reduction, all that stuff, but there's no intelligence, no all stat, no willpower, no nothing. There's nothing else on here for stats. So when I get a new focus, that's what I'm going to be looking out for. So like I said, 4 of my pieces do not have aspects on them yet, so we are still missing out on a lot of extra bonuses, a lot of extra damage, a lot of extra things like that. So now let's go over the aspects and stuff. And the first thing I want to talk about is that the gloves, the new gloves that I put on, whether it be this pair or another pair in the future, whatever pair I wear, I'm going to be putting on the increasing maximum number of skeletal warriors by 2 aspect, because that is amazing. I've only found 1 of them. It's very rare to find for me, so I have like 4 different pairs of items that have the mage version on there, so I increase my mages by 2, but I've only found 1 that does skeletal warriors, and that would bring us to 12 minions. Without them, we're only at like 10. So that's for the gloves. That's so you guys know what to put on your gloves, or if you are trying to follow what I'm doing, I'm going to put that on my new gloves. For the other aspects, we have these ones over here. So we're going to gain 0.5% increased armor for 4 seconds when I deal any form of damage, stacking up to 50%. This is on like a lot of builds. This is one that everyone is using. It's such a good one. It's impossible to not use it because you add so much extra tankiness to your build when you use it. So I will be putting this either on my chest or my pants. I think my chest plate for this one though. This one over here is another good one because it says while you have 7 or more minions, your minions gain 20% increased damage reduction, and that's fantastic. That just keeps them alive a little longer. That's super good. But I also have things like this too. So damaging an elite grants you a barrier absorbing 5,300 damage for 10 seconds. It can only happen every 30 seconds or so. That's a really good one as well, especially when you combine it with the aspect that gives you more damage while you have a barrier up. That could be a really good combo that I might want to use. We also have this one over here too. So how I have the 21% over here, I'm just waiting for a new ring, and I'll be putting on this one over here for 30% increased damage while they're alive. Trying that one out too, because 30% is great. That's a max roll. And then over here we have while Army of the Dead is active, your minions gain 76% attack speed and take 90% reduced damage. That is amazing, and I really want to try that out to see how that actually goes. So overall, like I said, we have 4 pieces missing an aspect. My gear is not perfect, like my pants are really low level. My amulet is the same one I was wearing before, and my helmet is a really low helmet that I was wearing before too. So when I get a new helmet, new amulet, when I put aspects on my gear, and everything is fully leveled up, fully maxed out, I'm gonna fully upgrade them all 2 to 5 out of 5 as far as they can go. My build is going to skyrocket in damage. The Paragon board will have a lot more in it. A lot more of these nodes will actually have their bonuses met because of the willpower or dexterity nodes. So overall, this is amazing. This is such a good start to it. I'm just very, very happy where this has gone. And I just can't wait to see where it goes in the future. So if you guys don't want to miss out on that, I will be making another updated video to this whenever I actually have like level 70, maybe 80 or 90, whenever. Sometime in the future, I'll be updating this build to show you guys how strong this build actually is. So if you guys don't want to miss out on any of those videos, subscribe if you guys are new here and you guys want to see those. But that will go ahead and do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I greatly appreciate you guys stopping by and hanging out with me. If you guys have any questions or comments on the build or anything like that that you think would help the build, let me know in the comments down below. I also have an idea for some uniques that I could put on here, like Howl from Below, or the Ring of Mendelin, or Mendeln. I think it's Ring of Mendeln. I have some ideas for some uniques that I could put on here, but getting them is going to be the hard part. So that's where the level 80, 90 versions of this build will actually have those, and we'll be utilizing more of those. But yeah, but that will go ahead and do it again for this video, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for stopping by, and thank you really for all of the amazing love and support on these Diablo videos. I know you guys have been loving them, and I cannot thank you enough for all the subscribers and all the likes and all the views and everything. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for hanging out. Bye, guys.